friends, my name is Katie. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be doing my April TBR. I'm not going to lie to you, April's going to be intense. Not only is there a lot of books on this list, but this doesn't even include some of the anticipated releases that I have, plus also some secret projects I'm working on. So we're gonna see where this goes. Not to mention, you guys know that I'm a mood reader. So take these books like with a grain of salt because it could change. It could change 1000%. I know I mentioned earlier this year I wasn't gonna do TBR videos, and I really thought I wasn't going to, but I want the chaos, I want the fun. I broke this down into different kind of categories. You guys are going to get to see the rollovers, any books that I have left over from March. You guys are going to see any buddy reads I have, any book club books I have, read-alongs, and then also we'll get into the TBR wheel because that's how I'm gonna do it from now on. I am going to do a random number generator, and it'll tell me how many times I have to spin my TBR prompt wheel and then go from there. And we'll see how many books are at the end. So starting with rollovers, I have two. I have Us Against You, which is by Frederick Bachman. It is a continuation to Beartown, so there's not really much I can tell you about that book, except for that it really does take place immediately after kind of what happens at Beartown. Beartown is essentially about this small town whose obsession is hockey. They are all about hockey. They live, breathe, eat, sleep hockey, right? A very serious, intense thing happens one night, and it divides the whole town. It kind of, everything falls apart and disintegrates, and that's really all I can say about it. It is emotional, it is triggering, it is a lot of things, but it's also a very impactful and a book that I genuinely think people should read. So check triggers if you haven't already read this book, and I definitely recommend that you pick it up. And if you do, please message me. Then we have The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi, and this is actually a member book pick. And so what happened is in March, I spun the wheel for my members because they get to add a book to my TBR wheel. And it landed on Darkwater Daughter, which was recommended to me by Bethany, who I love and adore. However, the book was not for me. I tried desperately. It would have put me in a slump. So thankfully, she very kindly recommended this to me as a substitute. And I have to say I'm loving it. I got the audiobook because I just kind of tested it out and I was obsessed with it. So I'm going to immersion read this, and I'm already a couple chapters in, and I think this is going to be amazing. Because it is a member pick book, there will be a whole reading vlog dedicated to this book, so stay tuned for that. Speaking of member picks, we have two this month. One is because I spun the wheel normally, but the other is because when I was doing my TBR prompt wheel, I got a member pick. So we get to do two, which is great because I need to start tackling some of these books. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, I'm super excited about the books that got chosen. The first one is My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry. The title's long. I think that's what it is. This is such a cool, interesting premise. However, I already know it's going to make me super emotional. Anyone who's got questionable family dynamics, I feel like it'll pull on your heartstrings. But essentially, we're following Elsa, and her grandma are the best of friends. They are besties for life. However, sadly, when Elsa's grandma passes, she is kind of sent on this journey because her grandmother left her with all these letters to give to people to say she's sorry. And so Elsa goes out on the journey to deliver the letters, and on the way, things get messy. Things get crazy. It's a journey that she will never ever forget, and I can't wait to go on this ride. I don't think I mentioned, this book was recommended to me by Koda. I love Koda so much. I'm sure you do as well. Koda is such a staple in this little community. And Koda's channel, along with anyone else I talk about in this video, will be linked down below. Please check them out, show them some love. Cannot recommend these people to you enough. And next for our member pick, we have The Gilded Ones. And this was recommended to me by Beatrice. I know she's gonna be so excited that I got this book, so it makes me even more excited. But also the premise, I love it. So essentially we're following Decca, I hope I said that right, and she's 16 years old and she's about to enter this blood ceremony, and essentially this ceremony will let her know whether or not she gets to be a part of her tribe. So it's kind of a big deal. The issue is it doesn't go the way she's hoping for, and so she is kind of given two choices by this stranger who just kind of shows up and is like, hey, I got some choices for you. And so she can either stay in her village and face the consequences of what happened at the blood ceremony, or essentially she can go join this group of women and fight for the emperor. And these women are super rare. They all have these interesting abilities, and basically it's this journey of kind of self-discovery. But also Decca learns that there are so many things that she thought she knew that she knew nothing about, and there's secrets and all these different mysteries and things like that kind of woven in. So yes. Next, we're going to talk about arcs. I have 3 that I want to read this month. Technically, one of them is already out, and then 2 of them are actually releasing on the same day. So it kind of works out. First, we have Rise of the Cinderfae by Whitney Dean. This is a Cinderella retelling. I know that there is magic, there's fae, there's winged creatures, there's political intrigue, and there is a romance. So that's what I'm going to tell you about that one. It is available now. It is on KU. You can pick it up right now. I recommend that you do. I've heard really, really good things. Next, we have Bourbon Runaway, and this comes out on April 11th. This is a small town runaway bride, reclusive mountain man, grumpy, damaged hero. The relationship in this book is complicated because essentially she used to date his brother back in high school, and something happened where him and his brother were in an accident. His brother sadly passed away 15 years ago, and even though all that time has passed, it's just not a line he's willing to cross. However, when she ends up kind of back in the area, they end up kind of forced together after the snowstorm happens, and they have to have conversations and address things that they've maybe been avoiding for a very, very long time. Then we have Caught in the Axe, like A-X-E, by Daphne Elliott, and this comes out on 4/11. I got my iPad because I want to make sure I read this 100% correctly, because listen to how this is marketed. I couldn't even sum it up any better, so you're welcome. It says, welcome to Lovewell, Maine, where the moose outnumber the people and you can't swing an axe without hitting a hot, grumpy lumberjack. The Maine Lumberjack series are all standalones, but are most fun when read in order. If you enjoy flirty banter, wood chopping, moose shenanigans, and possessive mountain men, then take a trip to Lovewell and meet the Maine Lumberjacks. Moving into book clubs, I'm only doing 2 book club picks this month, and that is going to be one for my Bookish Babes, which is run by one of my very, very best friends, Lil. You can find her here on BookTube or over on Instagram. You can definitely join if you want to. We're a pretty cool group, if I do say so myself. We are reading Listen for the Lie, and what I'll tell you is that both of the books for book clubs are thrillers. And for thrillers, I'm going to do my best not to spoil it for you and not to spoil it for me. I think going in it with very little information is the best way to go. For this, it says, what if you thought you murdered your best friend and everyone thought it too? And what if the truth doesn't matter? That's all I know going into this. And then for B and K's book club, which is run by Brittany and Kelsey, they are doing Where Sleeping Girls Lie. This is also a thriller, but it's like a YA thriller. It's about a girl who's new to boarding school, and she stumbles upon some dark secrets and some cover-ups after her roommate disappears. All right, friends, now we are moving on to the longest portion of this video, and that is the buddy reads, because if you know anything about me, I overcommit to buddy reads. I overcommit greatly. But it's one of my favorite things to do, so I have zero regrets. The first book I'll be reading is a reread. It's Out on a Limb. I love this book. I'm sure you have seen this book everywhere from me. It is a one-night stand turns into accidental pregnancy, but honestly, the story between these 2 main characters, I just think it's beautiful. It's slow burn, but it's also, there's so much healing, and like, I just think Beau is top tier boyfriend material. I don't know how else to describe it, other than maybe you should just trust me. Maybe. If that sounds at all intriguing to you, if it makes a difference. The one-night stand happens on Halloween at a costume party. I don't know if that adds anything to you, but I love it. But I'm buddy reading this with my friend Nikki, which is Hello Nikki Novels. I'm sure you know who she is, but she's absolutely wonderful, and I cannot wait. This is just the start of many, many buddy reads to come for us. Next, we have A Fate of Wrath and Flame by K.A. Tucker, and I'm reading this with Rainy from Rainy Blue Reads. I really don't know much about this. I don't know much about it at all. The little tagline I thought was the best way to describe it, and it says, she would know the world of vengeful gods and monsters and the lengths one would go for love, and nothing would ever be the same for her ever again. And it's crazy because I believe this is like a parallel universe kind of vibe, which I did not get that vibe at all. I could not believe that that's part of the story, but it's got elemental magic. It's got spy vibes. It's got enemies to lovers, slow burn. It's got mystery and court intrigue. Like, this is going to be a fun time. Next, I'm going to be reading Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. I'm reading this with one of my friends over on Bookstagram. Her name's Britt. And what I can tell you is this is a continuation of Red Rising. If you know anything about Red Rising, it's a very popular sci-fi series, and it essentially follows the idea of colonizing on Mars. And there's different classes and A lot of crazy things happen, even in book one, but I've heard book one is actually not the best. I've heard the series gets better as it goes, so I can't wait to dive into book two. Then I have two books, and the reason that is, I'm not buddy reading this one, but I am buddy reading A Promise of Peridot with Sarah and Rainey, so I have to read this first, which is perfect because I can't really tell you much about this, but I can tell you about this. So essentially we're following Arwen, and she's taken captive to save her brother's life, and she's thrust into this like very dangerous kingdom, and essentially they're going to use her magic to save people in the Onyx Kingdom. And I know that she starts kind of like this weird situationship with another prisoner who kind of drives her crazy, which I know I'm gonna love. In this book, you have one horse, you have slow burn, you have who did this to you, and you have like the chosen one prophecy, which happen to be all things that I really stinking love. Next, we have The Whispers by Ashley Audrain. She wrote The Push, which was my absolute obsession last year. I'm buddy reading this with Kelsey from Reads with Kelsey. And what I know about this book is it takes place in suburbia. We're following different families, I'm assuming on like a little cul-de-sac, and it's all about what happens in their lives when this crazy situation happens. I don't know what the situation is. I don't think we're supposed to know. And again, my best advice for thrillers is to go in blind, but I would check triggers because Ashley does not hold back. She certainly does not. This book will not be for everyone, and that is okay, but I bought it last year. I've been putting it off, and I can't wait to dive in now. Next, we have Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I'm buddy reading this with Vanessa from Read with Dr. B. If you are on the internet, you've heard about this book. You've heard about it. There's no way you haven't. What I've heard is that it's essentially Hunger Games coded. Like, it's the same vibe. It is YA though, so I've heard that there is no spice, so that's important to know depending on like what is important to you when you pick up a romantasy book. The brief way I can describe it is it says, she is the thing he spent his whole life hunting, and he is the thing she spent her whole life pretending to be. I don't know what any of that means, but I'm gonna find out. Next, we have Vows and Runes, which I cannot wait to get to. I'm so excited that I'm reading this with my friend Steph. When she agreed to switch our buddy read so we could read this book, it just made my heart so happy because I can't wait to continue. This is book 2 in the Legends of Thesmar series. It is a romantasy series, but it's got so much goodness inside, if that makes sense. There's so much to unpack and to just enjoy. The first book is Blood and Steel, which I read last year or earlier this year. I can't remember. Time is flying, to be honest. We're already in April, so I have no idea. But I did thoroughly enjoy it. And essentially, what I can tell you about book 1 is that it is slow burn. It is they train together. Who did this to you? It also has like a prophecy and like chosen one vibes. And essentially, the female main character has wanted her whole life to become a warrior, but women can't become warriors in this world. It's against the law. It's never going to happen. But she won't take no for an answer, and she has to do it quickly because it's been prophesized that she will die very soon. So trust me, you want to pick up this series. Then I'm reading Funny Feelings with my friend Brooke, and this is single dad, fake dating, friends to lovers, forced proximity. Essentially, we're following Farley, who is a stand-up comedian, and she has this very good friend who also happens to be her manager, Meyer. I want to say it's Meyer. It seems unnatural for me to say, but Meyer. Spoiler alert, it's not a spoiler. She's been in love with him for a very, very long time, but she's never wanted to ruin their friendship, so she's never said anything. And the relationship is a little complicated because Meyer is a single dad. He has a daughter, and I love that there's deaf representation because his daughter is deaf in this book. I really hope it's done well, but I'm very excited to finally give this book a chance. Next, we're going to finally get into the TBR prompt wheel. Did it take forever? Yes, it did. But first, I'm going to put up the random number generator. It's going to determine how many spins I have to do. So I put it between 1 and 10 because I feel like 10 books, like 10 spins is a stinking lot, especially with how much I already have going on. Look at the list we've already done. So I have to try and rein in the chaos just a little bit, just a little. But thankfully, the generator was super good to us. We only got 4. In our first spin, we did get a random number generator. Guys, the amount of work I did for this little prompt here is insane. So we got 176. However, on Storygraph, it does not number them, or if it does, I don't know how to figure that out. So I counted them all. I also realized there's a lot of books I have to get off my TBR. That's good. We landed on Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. This has been on my TBR for a long, long time. I actually just bought it maybe 2 years ago. So I'm very excited for this to happen, to be completely honest. I don't know a ton about this series. It's one of those things where it's like everyone talked about it and talked about how I needed to read it. So I was like, okay, I listen. If you tell me to read it, for the most part, I listen. Now I'm a little more choosy, but back then If somebody told me it was a good book, I was like, bet, I'm in. Say less. Okay. The best way I saw this described, and so how I'm going to share it with you, is once upon a time, a demon fell in love with an angel, and it did not go well. That's how I saw it described. I just thought that's perfect. It's got enough intrigue where it's like, okay, I need to know more information. Then we got Discord poll, which I was very excited about. So I put up a little Discord poll and I had you guys vote, and the Cowboy won. I was surprised. I thought Hockey would win, but it was a close second. But I decided to go with Come With Me and Here With Me by Brooke Montgomery. Both of these books are on KU, and I've been meaning to pick up this series for a while now, so I love that I have an excuse. The reason I'm doing 2 is because Come With Me is a prequel. It's like a shorter novella, so I figured why not? Why not just knock out 2? So Come With Me, like I said, it is a prequel, and it's essentially about high school sweethearts who I think reconnect after like 10 years apart. And then Here With Me, I'm so ready for this. It is age gap, it's forbidden, and it's essentially all about this horse trainer and her forbidden romance with her ex-boyfriend's dad. It's been a minute since I've read Ex-Boyfriend's Dad. And I'm not complaining. I am here for it. I am so excited. And it's cowboy. I feel very lucky with this choice. I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel very excited to dive into this. And for our last spin, we got a random color generator. And so we pulled that up and we got the color black. And so being kind to myself, I said, you know what was black? This one. So to keep my TBR low in hopes that I'll actually achieve reading all of my books, we're gonna double up on some of the prompts. Why not? I know normally I make things harder. I know. I'm trying to do less of that. Still be chaotic, but a little less, a little bit more manageable chaos, if that makes sense. But we're gonna check in next month in May and see how I did. And if I don't complete all these books, let me know what you think a good punishment should be. Should I have to spin the wheel again? Should I have to do a whole punishment wheel? What do you think is a good idea? If you say punishment wheel, leave a prompt down below. What's a good punishment prompt? I don't know. Help me so I can continue to make fun content for you by giving me some ideas, if that makes any sense. But anyways, guys, that is my April TBR. It's overambitious, it's hefty, but it's full of so many books that I cannot wait to get to. So hopefully you enjoyed this TBR. I definitely had a lot of fun actually putting it together. I think having the wheel is really going to make my life way more fun. If you're still watching, thank you so much for being here. I would love to know what's a book that you have on your April TBR. Let me know in the comments below. But thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you all so, so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.